Hallo und herzlich willkommen am Tele-Stammtisch.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. I'm Lasse Vogt. I'm from the Tele-Stammtisch. Loads of Pixar fans there. Some of them really looking forward to this movie, and I've seen it, and I am here to ask you some questions.
Great, thank you.
I would be interested in knowing who was there, like a single person who came up with the idea of this movie, or was this something like maybe Pixar has been toying around with for a little while already?
No, it was an idea that I had had and that I pitched to the company as a thing to do after Finding Dory. I'd always been fascinated with Buzz since I first started working with him as an animator in 1997 on Toy Story 2. And I wanted to do something fun, like a straightforward sci-fi action adventure. And I think telling Buzz's backstory and learning more about and exploring the world of the Space Rangers was something that was really exciting to me.
Ah, I see. Yeah, I mean, that's obviously a really good way to figure out what kind of story could we tell, and it's a character a lot of people are familiar with. Mm-hmm. Galyn, a question for you, especially as a producer, for people who maybe don't know what a producer does. What are your main tasks on a movie like this?
The tasks change over the course of the 5.5 years of a film. It's different when we're in pre-production versus when we're finishing. But the big overriding thing is I try to figure out what he wants, and then I try to get as much of that on the screen as I can with the budget and the resources that I have. It's really the summary statement of what a producer at Pixar does.
So a lot of organization and tooling around with everything that's at your disposal.
Sure, absolutely, and a lot. We call it firefighting. Basically, a lot of whatever problem arises in whatever day, trying to just figure out how we're gonna get around that problem.
I think with a big animated movie like this, it's especially challenging on a lot of ways.
It is, but it's also very interesting and exciting because there's so many people on one of these films. It's 500 people have touched this film over the course of the making of it, and they all come with different backgrounds and different skills and abilities, and they know how to do different things. And it's the game of trying to figure out how to best utilize all of these wonderful talents, again, to tell a singular vision. And his job is to make sure that everybody understands what that vision is and is tasked, working toward that vision. So it's a really, I don't know, I find it a very exciting collaboration.
Angus, one question for you. This movie feels very contemporary, of course, but yet it has timeless themes. Can you maybe tell us something about that?
Well, that's very kind of you to say. I think the movie is a mixture of a lot of things. Like it's introduced as the movie that Andy saw, decades ago, and it has a lot of influence from the sci-fi movies of the late 70s up to the mid 80s, definitely, and a lot of the modern. There's some certainly modern themes of that challenge the kind of traditional heroic storyline. I was interested in using aspects of a period piece, but also bringing in more contemporary things I was thinking about teamwork and about working together and how individualism could be dangerous.
Certainly it has to work for a modern kid audience who could maybe be just as enthralled like Andy was back in the day.
That was
so absolutely, that mixture absolutely makes sense. And to both of you, a question actually, and it has been a while since Pixar has gone into space, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about the environment and the overall concepts of the movie.
Well, the environment, we're on a planet that's very far away from Earth. We wanted it to be sort of Earth-like in that it sustains life, slightly alien, that it's a little bit dangerous, but it does first present as livable, and it is, but it's very hostile in its flora and fauna. Sci-fi wise, if things get too fantastical and too multicolored, whimsical plant life, for example, I tend to not worry about that world as much. So I wanted to be fairly grounded and in some ways a lot of rocks and boringness because it served the story well.
Yeah, it needs to be a place where they actually want to get away from.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
exactly.
But it can't be so bad that you're like, well, they're stuck there. There's a balance of a few different things.
Right, we didn't want it to feel dystopian.
Yeah.
I absolutely think you created a very good environment for the type of story you wanted to tell.
Thank you.
And something about the music, since I'm a big score geek, when did Michael Giacchino get involved and how was the process creating the music?
Amazing.
I don't know when he officially got involved. I mean, Michael and I have worked together and been friends since one-man band, like in 2005. So I always wanted him to be the composer for this film. And he and I grew up on similar movies and have similar excitement for those kind of films. And so it was not a very involved discussion process other than we talked about the movie. We reiterated what influences we felt it should have, but Michael was able to take that, react to it, and he would just send me sketches early on of this is the kind of feeling I'm thinking, and I would react to it. And it would just be over the past couple of years, slow little things here and there, and I would listen to it and take it in and react. And it was a wonderful chance to get to work together again. We worked together on a couple of films now, and he's a dear friend and he's an amazing composer. So I'm just happy to get to work with him.
But goes without saying, yeah, that makes sense to hire him based on his track record, not just with Pixar.
Sure. Oh, yeah, of course.
One of the interesting things about scoring for this film is that because of COVID, we couldn't actually bring the orchestra together. So we had a day of strings, we had a day of horns, we had a day of woodwinds, and the choir came in last. And it was really interesting because the first day you really are only hearing the strings, so we're listening. And then the next day when you only have the horns, they were mixing in the strings into our headset basically so that we could get a sense of what it was going to sound like when they were together. And then, so each progressive day, the music kind of got layered in and it got more and more exciting. I definitely have never heard a score built that way before. And it was unique and kind of fun.
It's demanding a little bit in a way that, like, okay, we're hearing this section today, we're hearing the next section the next day, and you have to keep in mind this is how this is probably going to sound like in unison. And I think that's pretty exciting.
Nice. Yeah.
A quick shout out to One Man Band, by the way, which is one of my Pixar short favorites.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely wonderful, everything about it. And as a conclusion, I have kind of like a question for both of you again. Is there something you two want to say to the fans of Pixar and all the people looking forward to this movie?
We're so thankful for the fans. They make it possible to make these movies. And we spent 5.5 years making this movie that you can see in 100 minutes. So that's a pretty good deal, I think about. It's a movie that's meant to be seen on the big screen, not only for the amazing audio and visual components that we've worked very much on, but also for the shared experience of going to the movies. There's nothing quite like it. And this film especially benefits from the big screen experience.
Yeah, what he said.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
This has been all of my questions.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for answering them. And thank you very much for everything. And I wish you a wonderful rest of your day. And I hope the movie does well with audiences. And a lot of people will like it. I certainly did.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.